Amazon and Garmin put Alexa in the car. Microsoft unveils the Surface Book 2, and Andrew has a problem with the new Kindle. Right?
Wow. Right off the bat.
We're going to get right to the gripes. You're listening to Geared Up from GeekWire.com in Seattle. I'm Todd Bishop.
I'm Andrew Edwards.
All right, we got a lot to talk about this week, including Microsoft Surface Book 2, as I mentioned, coming up.
Right.
Probably the one of the more flagship announcements this week in the tech world. But first, let's talk about this device behind us. This is the new Alexa and Garmin device. It's actually from Garmin. It's $150. It's called Speak. It's really interesting to me because my wife was just complaining the other day. We went on a road trip, and we've been using the Echo Show in our house. And it's become so second nature for her to talk to Alexa, to call up various things. She kept almost saying Alexa in the car
during the ride.
It was a really interesting phenomenon, and she's not the type of person who will just willy-nilly adopt things. Like with our Xbox,
I completely understand.
Yes, it sounds like you're speaking from experience.
Yes.
Wow, that must be an interesting dynamic in your house.
Absolutely,
you and your wife.
Absolutely. Well, so kind of jumping off what you were saying, like my wife, these voice devices, kind of started coming out. What would you say, about 2 years ago?
Sure.
Where it was, still. I mean, it still is kind of weird to just speak to a not real thing, not a person, not an animal, etc. And so, my wife would never use Siri, which you hate Siri, so you probably never use Siri either. But that's on the phone. Now we have it just in our house, just, it's just always there, right? So she was like, I just never want to use this stuff. And then recently, though, I don't know what happened. Something switched to where she's just she talks to Alexa more than she talks to me, and she will think of ways to use it that I don't even think. Like sometimes, I like technology, so I just have it there, just there. But sometimes I see the Alexa, I'm like, I should think of something to say. Like I'm trying to think of what to ask it. And we were upstairs last night, and she was like, "Oh, I forgot to turn off the TV and the lights downstairs. Alexa, turn off the TV in the living room. Turn off the lights in the kitchen." And I was like, I would have went downstairs to grab the remote control to physically do it. Like I wouldn't. She just occurred to her, and it does it.
It's funny. I had a similar experience last night. My wife showed me she found this new Alexa skill, new to her, that will find her phone in the house and call it from the Echo device. And I was like, wow. So it's like our wives are getting more advanced with Alexa than us.
Where's my phone?
Yeah, and it rang.
Wow. Okay.
That's pretty slick,
nice
I thought.
Job.
At any rate, back on the topic of the device that we're talking about, the $150 Garmin Speak attaches to the windshield. Much like you would have any other, sort of dash-mounted or windshield-mounted device. It essentially has a very simple interface. It gives you directions, as you would expect from Garmin.
Right.
And it sort of shows you, okay, in this much distance, you're going to be turning right. And, of course, that's augmented.
Does it have a GPS built into it?
It must. Well, I'm not sure if it works through your phone in terms of the GPS or through the device, but we'll figure that out.
Okay.
It does use the data from your phone.
Right.
So it's not data. It doesn't have data built in, but it's $150, and think of it essentially as an Echo Dot on your windshield. So you can use it to connect to the Bluetooth to control music and all those things. It's basically like a streamlined Alexa device. Now, I've got a 2007 car. It does have Bluetooth, but it'll be interesting for me to see how well this thing actually integrates with a vehicle that was born, a decade before many of these technologies came out.
Oh, a decade. That's true. So I feel like they didn't go far enough here.
Yeah.
Like there could be a camera on the front.
Yep.
And an SD card, mini SD card slot. So then it becomes an Alexa with a dash cam built in. Like that would be the ultimate. Like give me Alexa, but also give me that dash cam functionality.
Could they have done that, do you think, for $150?
I don't see why not, because you have other companies like Aukey and Anker who they don't have Alexa built in, but they make dash cams that you can buy for under $100. So, and the Alexa part can't be that expensive because it's just a microphone. Maybe I would assume they pay a licensing fee to Amazon, but it's just a microphone and a speaker. And if it's using the data from your phone anyway, that's stuff they don't have to build into it as well.
Right.
So I don't know. It's cool. Don't get me wrong. Having Alexa in the vehicle is cool, but at the same time, most people have a smartphone, and most people have their smartphone with them when they're driving, right? So instead of talking to Alexa, anybody who's driving with a smartphone can just say, "Hey Siri," or can say, "Hey Google," right? and control things already in their car.
True. And obviously some of that is voice activated. I guess a lot of people are still doing the thing where you pick it up and you press the button. I recognize you can set that up automatically. My tendency is to press the button. And in Washington State, at least, you can get nailed for that. They've been really cracking down on even just picking up
even
your phone.
If you touch your phone at a stoplight.
Right. Yes.
You're caught. You're done.
Exactly. So this is part of a broader effort by Amazon to get Alexa inside cars. They showed an integration with Ford at the Consumer Electronics Show in January. Of course, at the event we went to, Andrew, at the Amazon headquarters, they also showed the ability to roll this out, their plans to roll this out in BMW and Mini vehicles in the US, UK, and Germany.
I think it's cool. Like, put Alexa in vehicles, give us interfaces that we're used to, because, typically before this all started happening, cars and car interfaces and car software was pretty terrible.
Yeah, absolutely. No, dashboards and cars they have been behind the times. But I want to talk about your setup. You have AirPlay in your car.
CarPlay.
CarPlay in your car. And you actually have a really good sense for this. Do you see one automotive platform, one technology sort of becoming dominant in much the way that iOS and Android have become dominant on phones?
I personally think that CarPlay and Android Auto, it's similar to the smartphone world. Like, you're used to using your phone. How many times do you pick up your phone and unlock it per day, right? Probably 100, and regardless of what platform you use, you're using your phone all the time. So when you integrate that into the car, it's an immediately familiar experience. You know what to do. You know how to use it. You don't have to spend time. You don't have to bust out an owner's manual. How do I do it? You just know because you use these devices all the time. So I think it's called projection technology. So the phone is projecting onto the display in your car and replacing the car's software with that from your phone. And I think that's really the future. Some companies seem to be hesitant to allow this, namely Tesla. Tesla has this, Model 3 that they're building out and releasing to a lot of fanfare. They have 500,000 or so pre-orders for this vehicle, and they don't allow CarPlay or Android Auto. They have their own UI that they want you to use. So, that's an outlier because a lot of these other companies are building it in. If you have an Android phone plug-in, Android pops up on your display. If you have an iPhone, iOS pops up on your display. And it's much nicer, and you can use the voice assistant from your phone of choosing. So, I don't know how... that's one of the things I'm not looking forward to. I pre-ordered one of those Tesla Model 3s, and it's something I'm not looking forward to losing CarPlay and instead using, whatever Tesla decides is the best interface. There's a difference between an interface for your car and an interface for your phone.
It seems like Tesla would be able to update that through a software update if they got enough backlash from folks.
I would hope so. Because, again, it's much nicer to be in your car and just know, I know what my phone can do, and anything my phone can do, my car can do is nice.
Absolutely. All right. So the device we've been talking about is the $150 Garmin Speak. It's a device that attaches to your windshield. It actually is already available on Amazon. I bought it. We'll see. I'm going to get it, and we can talk about my experience with it next week.
We can find out how it's been going for you.
That's
and
right.
For your wife.
That's right. Absolutely. You're listening to Geared Up on GeekWire, and we'll be right back. All right. Welcome back to Geared Up on GeekWire. I'm Todd Bishop.
I'm Andrew Edwards.
All right. So we just talked about an Amazon device that I'm pretty excited about, the Garmin.
Right. It's a Garmin device.
It's a Garmin device with Alexa in.
Yes.
It sounds like they did more of a partnership on it as well, though. Okay. So, kind of like the GE thing with Alexa built in. Now let's talk about an Amazon device that Andrew is not as excited about. The new Kindle Oasis. This is Amazon's top-of-the-line e-reader.
Yes.
For the first time, and I can tell you a little Jeff Bezos story on this one. Back in the day, Jeff Bezos used to tell stories about how he would put his Kindle into a plastic bag to make it waterproof.
Why would you share that information?
So he could read in the bath.
So what you're basically telling people is, hey, the product that we make doesn't allow me to do this, so I need a Ziploc bag.
This was probably, this was very shortly after the Kindle came out.
So 10 years ago.
It was actually maybe 7 years ago.
Okay.
Now, this new device that we're looking at, the Kindle Oasis e-reader, 7 inches, is waterproof.
Yeah, first waterproof Kindle.
That's right. So you can read anywhere. Jeff Bezos can finally read in the bath without a plastic bag.
Yes. Now, there have been services where you can send your Kindle in and they would waterproof it for you. Yes. So that did exist, and that's been around for at least 3 years. So you've been able to buy a Kindle, send it to them. They would waterproof it somehow. I don't know how exact. I think it's some sort of coating. I don't know. Send it back to you. You have a waterproof Kindle, which is great. Now, the Kindle Oasis came out last year.
Yep.
And the name itself, to me, implied that it was going to be waterproof.
Maybe they originally planned it.
I don't know why.
Because you think of yourself on a desert island,
right?
With,
just like
with the waves lapping up.
Everything is safe.
Yes.
So last year it was a 6-inch e-reader.
Yep.
Okay, $250 still.
Yep.
This year they've added an extra inch.
7 inches.
$250. Why is it so expensive? Like, that's the problem. Not just the Oasis. I want to take to task also the Kindle Voyage at $200, which is not waterproof. The regular Kindle is $80.
Well, Amazon would sit here and tell you they're not twisting your arm and making you buy the expensive ones.
It's $140 more worth the price.
If you're so this is for we're going to argue about this one.
And by the way, I did order one.
Kindle.
Okay. Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
So here's where I look at this. So to me, getting a front lit screen is the key, and you can get that with the Kindle Paperwhite at $120.
That's right.
Here's what I use a Paperwhite regularly. I primarily use it most on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I use it most on vacation is it allows me to take my smartphone. I'm not relying on my smartphone getting those notifications that might suck me back into work. I can put it in a drawer,
right,
and I can take out my Kindle and read the New York Times. I love to read the New York Times on the Kindle.
Okay.
With the Paperwhite front lit, you can do it at night with the lights off,
right,
without hurting your eyes,
which is great.
I love that. So $120. Now, I agree. Now, the thing about the Oasis is they'll tell you like it's meant for people who are doing a lot of reading. The weight is really nicely distributed across the thing. It's a premium device. What would you sell? What would you want that at?
I have one. I have one in my bag.
So what I'm saying is you would put that at what, 150? Put the Paperwhite at 120.
Here's what I would do.
At
Paperwhite 120. I don't have a problem with. Okay. I wish the Paperwhite was $99.
Yeah.
$99 for the Paperwhite. So you have $79 regular Kindle, $99 for the Paperwhite. Give me $129 for the Voyage, because the Voyage and the Paperwhite, they're so similar.
Yeah.
Like, what is the difference between those two? And then you have the Kindle Oasis waterproof, $149. That is $100 less. That's what I mean, it's an ebook reader. Yeah. You cannot do anything else. Why don't you flip your computer over to the Amazon Fire devices?
Okay.
These are tablets that you can also read Kindle books on, but do a myriad of other things on.
Yeah,
a 7-inch Kindle Fire tablet. How much is that?
7-inch Kindle Fire tablet is $50.
That's $200
now,
less.
I got to say, I have one of these things. I have an older version that I got on the Treasure Truck for like 35.
I like the Treasure Truck.
Yeah, the Treasure Truck is fun. For 35, it is not. It is a media viewing device and not much else. And you're going to be lucky if you can get your media to be viewed.
Okay. Okay, let's go to the next. What about an Amazon Fire HD 10?
$150. That's
$100 less, and that is a premium. That's what.
So you feel like there's for a single use device, essentially.
Yes.
With an experimental browser, which still cracks me up.
Right. Terrible.
Yes, and not easy to connect to Wi-Fi if you're like in an airport. It's always a little bit of a hassle.
You can get one with LTE built in.
Why is that so much more expensive than a multi-purpose device?
That's the question.
It's a good point. It is a bit of a disconnect with Amazon's pricing strategy.
Abusive.
Abusive is today's word. That should be maybe the word in the podcast title.
It is
abusive.
Yes, it is.
Or maybe
it's
not.
User hostile is what I'm saying.
User hostile.
There's no
Hostility and abuse
for it to cost $250.
I got
Do you know how much? When you look, if you take a bunch of devices that cost $250, right? An Xbox One S is $250. I can watch Netflix. I can watch 4K movies. I can play all these video games. The Kindle, I can just read books. That's it.
No, I hear you.
Come on.
It's a disconnect. No, and keep in mind Amazon's mantra, what Jeff Bezos says is they want to make money when you use their devices, not when you buy them.
Right.
So
except in this case.
This seems like a bit of a disconnect. All right. So
that said, I did buy one.
Okay.
So,
right.
But I mean, I bought one because I need to do. I'm someone who has to make videos and stuff like that, and I didn't have a contact over there, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy one so we can make some content on this thing.
All right. Let's talk about the new Microsoft Surface Book 2. This was announced just this past week. It'll be released November 16th.
Okay.
It's been 2 years since the release of the original Surface Book.
Yes, it has.
And it's funny, you could see the trends in terms of Microsoft's results. They saw a decline in Surface revenue in a couple quarters this year because for a while you hadn't had a new Surface Pro and you hadn't had a new Surface Book. And so this was really long awaited. It starts at $14.99. The key thing here is they've added a new size, a new form factor, 15 inches.
A new form factor. So what was it previously? 13?
So it's 13 and a half. So they've got a 13 and a half that starts at $1,500 and a 15-inch that starts at $2,500.
And same thing, you can remove the tablet portion.
Exactly, and you can see that here on the screen behind us on the video.
15-inch tablet.
So that is essentially that is going to be a giant tablet when you do the detach.
Okay, so the main thing or the main quote that stuck out to me was that these new Surface Books are 2 times faster.
Twice as powerful, twice as fast, and they claim a battery life of up to 17 hours.
Now okay, cool.
Yes.
What does up to mean? Because if I get 4 hours, you're like, well, it's up to.
I think it probably depends on usage, right?
Yes.
So I guess maybe
I
what are you doing?
Know. See, the thing with Apple,
question.
when Apple says you get 10 hours of battery life, and you go to the website, it says 10 hours of battery life, and here's all the conditions that we made. Like, it tells you specifically. So I want to know how you get 17. And I'm not saying I don't believe them.
No.
I'm just curious how to. I mean, that's great.
Battery life,
These are Intel computers, right?
Yeah, I believe, yes, they do have Intel Core.
Okay.
Intel Core i5 and i7, I believe.
What I heard them also mention was Windows 10 running on ARM. You don't have to charge those but every couple of days.
Right.
So, I'd love to see some ARM, like both Mac and Windows on ARM, just giving you ridiculous battery life. You just every couple of days you plug in for a little while.
Okay, there is a footnote on the Surface page where they talk about battery life. So let's see what that says. It's great radio here, I know.
I need to know what they have to say for themselves.
Yeah, okay.
Battery life, tell me.
Okay. Surface Book 2 13.5 inch, up to 17 hours of video playback. Testing conducted by Microsoft in October 2017 using pre-production Intel Core i5, 256 gigabytes, 8 gigabytes of RAM device. Testing consisted of full battery discharge during video playback.
Okay.
All settings were default except Wi-Fi was associated with a network and auto brightness disabled. Battery life varies significantly with settings, usage, and other factors. Now, do you regret asking?
No. I mean, that's interesting. So watching a video to me means that you're not doing anything resource intensive.
Right.
Because so you're just watching a file. It's just playing video. You're not crunching numbers or, you're not exporting a video.
Not even really hitting the Wi-Fi because it's going to load it in.
Right.
And then,
right. So, but still, that's very impressive.
17 hours.
Twice as powerful as a MacBook Pro. Like, that's also, what's power? What does that mean? Like, how powerful in what way?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm assuming they're talking about the processor.
There's no way the processor is twice as powerful because they use the same Intel Core processors. Like,
right.
Intel hasn't, between the release of this 2017, we're still in 2017 model, they haven't released enough time hasn't passed for them to say, hey, in early 2017, we released this processor, and in November, we have a processor that's twice as powerful. Like, that never happens. So I'm curious what's the measure of power.
Yeah, we can find that out. They do not go into detail on that in any footnotes that I can find.
Even so,
yeah,
if they're saying it's more powerful, even if it wasn't twice as powerful, even if it's just more powerful, that means this is a contender. And it's very interesting that Microsoft is becoming, like, they are competing with their partners. Apple doesn't compete with their partners because they're the only ones who can make a Mac.
Yeah, Apple doesn't have any partners in the same way.
Microsoft, Dell is a Microsoft partner.
Right.
They license, but yet Microsoft's competing directly with their partner, which is very interesting to me.
And that's been the issue since Microsoft started to get into computer hardware. And so far, what we've seen is that folks like HP and Dell basically let Microsoft test the market, and then they see what works, and then they come out with something that leverages their own expertise and their own, unique stuff. The Dell XPS 13 and 15 is like a good example where some of those things they were able to leverage some of the things that Microsoft showed, and then a bunch of them have these 2-in-1 convertibles. That's actually a better example. The XPS is not a great example actually, but the whole notion of is there a market for 2-in-1s? Okay, maybe there is now that you see what the Surface Book's doing, and so then other companies come out with it.
Right, and even on their page they have the MacBook Pro in the background there, like.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, exactly.
Now that, by the way, just so people know, the MacBook Pro pictured there is not the latest MacBook Pro.
No, it's not. It's not. It's one of the chunky older ones.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you may be twice as powerful as the old MacBook Pro.
I wonder if that's where
because that's the one you're picturing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. Okay, so that is the new Surface Book 2. As we said, it comes out in a few weeks, essentially.
Yes.
So. All right, we're going to take a quick break on Geared Up. We will be right back with a discussion of Andrew's new iPhone 8. All right, welcome back to Geared Up on GeekWire. All right, Andrew, you've got here on the table in front of you something that we've talked about a lot in the past and that we actually saw a prototype of.
Yes.
A dummy, but this is the real thing.
This is the real thing. This is the iPhone 8 Plus.
Yeah.
iPhone 8 Plus. So I've had this for just over 2 weeks now, which is when it came out. And this is just like a stopgap upgrade for me, at least, because the iPhone 10 is right around the corner.
The 10 comes out in early December, is that right?
November 3rd.
November 3rd.
November 3rd.
Okay.
So pre-orders begin on October 27th.
December. Okay.
So 12 days away, you can pre-order, and then it gets released on November 3rd. And so that is, Apple's big upgrade. But, the thing with the 8 is this is almost like the end of an era. Like this device for 4 years, 4 generations, kept the same form factor, and Apple just kind of kept iterating on, the inside and what makes this device better. And so without having to focus on changing the form factor, they were really able to just focus on, let's make the best device of this form factor that we can.
So is this becoming your everyday?
Yes, at this point, yes.
So this replaced your iPhone 7 Plus.
That's correct.
How do you like it?
There's some things I really like. So the main thing that I like is the battery life, which actually surprised me because if you don't dig into the specs, you don't realize that the actual battery itself inside the 8 and 8 Plus is smaller than the battery in the 7 and 7 Plus. So it's less battery capacity. Efficient. It's way more efficient, like hours more efficient. Really? It's crazy the efficiency that they've built in, because I spent one day doing a camera test. So I was taking 4K video at 60 frames per second, which you cannot find another phone that does that. It's a crazy. It's usually 4K 30 frames per second, so it's double the data, and then taking pictures as well. And I'm doing this for hours, and at the end of the day, I didn't charge up at any point during the middle of the day. And at the end of the day, around 11 p.m., I had like 23% battery life, which is unheard of for me, because that even a brand new iPhone 7 out of the box, I would have had to like charge up at some point in the middle of the day. So battery life on these devices is killer.
That's what I need. See, I'm at the point where I have to walk around with an external battery.
Just in your pocket.
Because of I've got an iPhone 6s Plus. I've decided I'm going to get the 10.
You're going 10.
I'm going to the 10.
You're going 10.
So,
are you going 64 gig or 256 gig?
We'll see how it goes. I would love to have all that storage on it. I would really love to have that storage. But for me, I've always got this in the back of my mind, this conspiracy theory that there's some sort of trigger that Apple pushes out in a software update to make your battery drain faster on your old devices.
I mean, so I'll address that, because people say this all the time. So equate this to anything else in the world, right? You buy a TV that after, whenever the next major TV comes out, all of a sudden that TV starts malfunctioning. You buy a car that after 2 years starts breaking down. How many of you out there would say, I bought a Toyota, every 2 years it breaks down, time to buy another Toyota? Like, you would be like, I'm not buying this ever again because this car breaks down. True. I'm going to go to something else that lasts longer, right? So,
but in the Apple upgrade thing, the something else is a new Apple device. If you're stuck in the iOS ecosystem.
Yes, but what I'm saying is a company would be unwise to make their products, to have people say that their products start breaking down after a certain amount of time.
Right. And to be clear, I'm not leveling any kind of accusation here. It always seems coincidental that
right.
like there's a new iPhone coming out and suddenly I can't get
my phone
more
is
than
so
an
slow.
hour. Yeah, not that it's slow, it's that the battery life it's incredible how much it plummets.
Well, I mean, it's also a battery you've used for
going
a year,
more than a
right?
year.
So
yeah.
in other words, if you were to buy just the same phone again, you would see your battery life would come back up. Now, there is new software that gets released every year, right? So iOS 11. So if you upgrade an older device to the new software, you will see performance differences there because the new software generally is optimized for the latest hardware.
Oh.
So your older hardware, isn't going to perform as well as something newer. And also when you upgrade, like especially that first couple of days, you have a phone that you bought a year ago, you upgrade to the latest operating system. The first day or two, it's like re-indexing all this stuff. So you're going to see really bad battery life because it's actually performing all sorts of like under the hood things that it doesn't normally do on a daily basis.
Yeah, I've seen some weird things on iOS 11 because I because of the battery issue, have been making a point of doing every single update as soon as it comes out.
Right.
Like I'll be on a call and for some reason on my iPhone 6s Plus, it'll flash to like the home screen and then back to my call.
Yeah, see, iOS 11, there's some weirdness in this operating system. Like Apple, it seems clear that it was launched before it was like ready for prime time, just because they coincide the phone launch with the OS launch, and so since they're so tied together, they have to get the OS out the day the phone is available. And so iOS 11, so I do the betas, and I'm on iOS 11.1 beta 3, and as of beta 3, that was like the first time where I felt like things are how they should be. So I don't know when iOS 11.1 is releasing. If I had to guess, it would probably be alongside the iPhone 10. So we're probably, a couple weeks away. But once that comes out, then you'll see all that weirdness, all these, it's basically bug-ridden. This bug-ridden operating system will function properly.
Got it. So takeaways on the iPhone 8 Plus.
Yeah. Aside from the battery,
the
camera is amazing.
Can you do that portrait mode thing where you get the blurry aperture in the back?
Oh yeah, definitely. You can do that. But I mean, portrait mode on the 8, they have portrait lighting now, which is a new feature where not only can you do the typical portrait mode, but you can also change the lighting dynamically.
Like you're in a studio.
Yeah, which is really nice. But also just the clarity of the pictures. Again, the efficiency. They did a great job with this camera. And, I don't know how much more you're going to be able to do, and not just Apple, but anybody with camera technology on phones that are this thin. But I think this is where Google has the advantage because they're doing a lot of stuff in the cloud. So you take some pictures, they get uploaded to Google Photos, and Google makes them look amazing, and unlimited storage as well. I think Apple and others are going to need to catch up with this whole machine learning thing to stay where Google is at as far as photos go. Like the new Pixel, the photos on there are amazing. The portrait mode stuff is amazing. And they only have one camera on there, whereas Apple requires 2 cameras in order to achieve the same effect.
Got it. So would you recommend folks go for the 8 or the 10?
I would recommend, so you need to figure out what your needs are. First of all, the 10 starts at $1,000. If you don't want to pay $1,000 for a smartphone, don't get the iPhone 10. That's a no-brainer. It's very expensive. If you want 256 gigabytes, that goes up to $1,149 for a smartphone, which again, some people are like, why would I pay that when you can get an iPhone 8 starting at $699? So $699 for 64 gigs, $799, or $849 for 256. So it's a substantial difference. And quite honestly, the phones are more similar than they are different on the inside. They're very similar. So
maybe I should get the 8.
If you want the new display, the new OLED display, that's one reason to get the 10. If you want Face ID and everything that comes along with it, a lot of people don't realize Face ID isn't just for unlocking your phone. So I have a feature on my phone right now. Here you can see It shows all my notifications, and it just shows the app name, and it shows notification. It doesn't actually show the notification. If I unlock, then it shows notification, right? So imagine, Face ID doesn't require my thumb. So if I pick up my phone, I can see all my notifications. If you pick up my phone, it just automatically doesn't show them.
Nice.
So there's things that the iPhone 10 is going to be able to do and leverage due to the new technology built in that the 8 can't do. But, for all intents and purposes, both phones are, we haven't used the 10. But I was going to say both phones are great, but they're for two different buyers. If you want the latest and greatest as far as technology goes, it's about the iPhone 10. If you just want, a great phone, this is, like I said, the end of an era. This is the best phone of this form factor that Apple could make, and this is probably the retirement of this form factor going forward.
Yeah. All right. Fascinating stuff. All right. So that is Andrew Edwards. It's Todd Bishop. You're listening to Geared Up on GeekWire. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Andrew's YouTube channel, youtube.com/GearLive. And we will be back next week with a lot more. Talk to you next time, everybody.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to Geared Up, the weekly tech and gadget podcast. Check out more of Andrew's reviews at youtube.com/GearLive and follow all of our coverage at GeekWire.com.